What's up, traders? I am Vincent Mokoteli from VinnBoss Signal Factory. This is not a financial advice. It's powerful education for those ready to level up. With the right mindset and real strategy, success is within your reach. Welcome to VinnBoss Signal Factory, where signals meet success. So traders, with the euro and the dollar, what we do have in store, first we have to check what happened yesterday to merge it with what is possible today. Now, as we did mention that the euro had a possible test, not a break above necessarily. So what do I expect now? I still think this is a possible setup going to our demand zone. 1.1654 is the best place to look for buying opportunities to go to the upside. And also the second demand zone right here is a great place to look for buying opportunities, of course, at the level of 1.1628. This will be a fantastic place to look for buying opportunities to the upside also. But today the price right now as we are speaking, the price is almost like this. So we did not take any setups since yesterday. But remember, you are waiting only for the perfect setup. That is why we did not take any trades yesterday. So let me explain which setup or which opportunities we'll be looking for if we do not reach our demand zone from today's standpoint. Right now the market seems to be in a bullish momentum, but the overall direction that is dominant is still bearish. That is why I expect to see a continuation to the downside to retest our demand zone, of course. And this is the possible move, of course, that I'm expecting. A retest of this 1.1726. This will be a fantastic place to look for buying opportunities to the upside, and or rather right here, if it does not reach this level, it can most definitely reach this high of yesterday from Monday to continue to the upside. This is what my stance is. This is what I still think is possible on the euro and the dollar today with the analysis and the setups that we did. So let's move over to the pound and the dollar. So traders, with the pound and the dollar, it's very similar to the dollar, to the euro and the dollar. What do I expect? I don't think this is a straight up break to the upside, but structure wise we are still structured to the upside as the pound is relatively stronger than the euro since the beginning of Monday. So what now and what do I expect? I expect to see this. If this comes down below, I do not expect it to reach our demand zones yet, as of yet, because of the strength in the panel. But what I would like to see is a retest of the opening on Monday, and then a continuation to the upside will be the one that is mostly likely to happen. Yet again, if this does not retest the opening on Monday, you just continue to the upside. This will be a great place to look for buying opportunities. Like Monday's high would be a great place to look for buying opportunities, and after with these buying opportunities, it will be structured to the upside. As you remembered from this, we did want to see these levels taken, and of course last week this was not a favorable setup for us, so we did not very much entertain, but the structure remains bullish to the upside. Nothing has changed from last week up until now. So this is what I do expect. If this goes up like this, a small pullback to retest yesterday's high, and then a continuation to the upside to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio trade. Now let's move over to the euro and the Canadian dollar. And with the euro and the Canadian dollar, what we did have from last week was this two-wave up system, and then we did not reach the second supply zone, but we did take this sell very serious, almost came out or stopped out. And that is one of the benefits that we have with XNS, is that it does not have crazy spreads so that it stops you out unnecessarily. We are still in this trade, we are not yet stopped out. What do I expect? I did expect to see a strong momentum to the downside. We did not get that as of yesterday, but we did get a sign that we are moving to the downside, since we have a low and a lower high and a new low. Supposedly, if we do make a lower high, it will be fantastic for us to make another new low to continue to the downside at 1.6025. Rather, if this does not happen and it comes over to retest the second supply zone at 1.6142, it will be ideal if you did take the trade with us, of course, to put your break even and make sure that you do not lose money with this one, and look for selling opportunities again when it comes to the invalidation of yesterday's high, given the fact that in here we are structured to the downside and we are only looking for selling opportunities with the euro and the Canadian dollar. So without wasting time, we go straight over to the pound and the Canadian dollar. With the pound and the Canadian dollar, it is very similar to the euro and the Canadian dollar. We do have that strong momentum to the upside. If we do break above like this, then the bullish momentum will take place from our weekly break of structure at 1.8695. With that being said, we can make our 1:3 risk to reward ratio, and what we are expecting structure wise for now is a retest of the second supply zone. Look for bearish patterns and formations to continue our sell to make the new low at 1.8488, or to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio setup. These are still the best setups for the week that we have running up until today. We will see again maybe on the New York session. Without wasting much of our time, this is the first and the second signal of the day. We did have the first signals on the Tokyo session, and during that Tokyo session we did only trade one pair, but it was only for the real account traders community, of course. And without wasting further time, this is what I do expect to see. I expect to see this break to the upside if only the euro and the US dollar continues to fall. If the dollar continues to fall, the strength will move over to the euro and the dollar, or the pound and the dollar rather. If it does happen that the dollar falls, this pair will invalidate our weekly break of structure, both the pound and the CAD and the euro and the CAD. But if it does not break this, if the euro continues to fall again, this will give the dollar strength, and the Canadian dollar will have 2 weeks of expansion or of strength to the upside, meaning that we will only be selling the euro against the Canadian dollar, selling the pound against the Canadian dollar, selling the euro again against the dollar, and selling the pound against the dollar. But this will only rely on the setups that we do get. I repeat again, if I was not clear enough to anyone, if euro dollar continues to the upside very strong, meaning the dollar becomes weaker, that means the strength will come back to the euro, and we will invalidate the weekly break of structure like this, and then a retest to look for that buying opportunity to make 1:3. But if the euro keeps on having weakness to the downside, of course, then the dollar will gain momentum, and if the dollar gains momentum, the euro, CAD, the pound, and the Canadian dollar will also be very much structured to the downside. This is what I will be expecting, of course, with the euro and the Canadian dollar and the pound and the Canadian dollar. right? I know this writing is very bad because I'm using a mouse, but it is what it is. You have to understand what I'm trying to show you. So that is the case, and this is the scenario that we'll be following up until I would like to say the end of the week. So one of the two scenarios is going to happen. Either the dollar gets weaker or the euro gets weaker this week. Those are the two setups that I'm interested in while I'm trading only the watch list of YouTube, which is the euro and the dollar, the pound and the dollar, the euro and the CAD, the pound and the CAD, the euro and the pound, and last but not least, the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. So this will be the setups that we'll be looking for only if we are trading the watch list, but rather there are other currency pairs, of course, like gold, like the NZD US dollar, NZD Canadian dollar, which is superb right now at this moment, and they are not shared here on YouTube, of course, for reasons that it is not fair that we will only be showing all the signals and everything that we did on the real account traders community, whereas people funded $100, $300, and then on the other side, people in the free channel who are even using different brokers than ours, they are getting the same services as the real account traders community. No. So with that being said, guys, let's go over straight to the euro and the pound without wasting much of our time. And with the euro and the pound traders, we are structured to the upside. Nothing has changed. Yesterday we did have a fantastic setup here. We did come up, and then a break even was offered, of course, because we always try to make sure that we do not lose necessarily every single risk that we have. We have to obviously move to break even if the trade is positively on our side, like in the euro and the Canadian dollar, like in the euro and like in the pound and the Canadian dollar. And of course, yesterday with the euro and the pound, we did not reach the intended target of yesterday. We came down. After this, we were not sure as to whether it was late after the New York was left only with maybe 2 hours to close. We were not sure that this was a fantastic setup to go for, or if this would come down and retest the second demand zone, given the fact that the pound has outperformed the euro in the majority of the pairs, whether they are paired together or they are paired with the same currency pair, but the pound has outperformed the euro. And with that being said, nothing has changed. We are still structured to the upside. This is most likely to happen before Friday, and then a move to the upside is still a fantastic setup. But if this does not happen, and then today the market decides that, or traders decide that the euro is more attractive than the pound today, this would happen, of course. After this, we would find buying opportunities, and we would look for buying opportunities right at this demand zone that we have at 0.8647. This would be a fantastic place to look for buying opportunities, and then to continue our re-entry from yesterday with this one, the break even that we had yesterday. This would also be a fantastic place to go to the upside. So without wasting much of our time, let's go to the last but not least, the euro and this not the euro, rather the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. And just like we did mention that there's no straight up continuation that looks like we are about to go up to retest here, but this is the favorable setups, of course, of this week. But if we do have, like right now, we do have higher highs, lower high. This looks like it is good. It's a lower high, a higher low. Let me just clean the chart so that we can start this. We have a new high, higher low, new high, higher low, new high. I would not say this is a higher low, since it did not make a new high above this, but it does look like it is a lower high if we do make a new low. So with that being said, after this, a pullback to retest this would be a fantastic at 1.3746. It would be a fantastic place to look for short opportunities to make that 1:3, because we are still structured to the downside with the dollar. I'm not looking to buy any dollar unless the stats or the data comes in on Friday and the dollar prints out a positive non-farm payrolls. But even then, it would still be very unlikely, but it would depend on the data, the structure, and the market itself, or the market sentiment. So without wasting much of our time, traders, this is our daily analysis for the YouTube watch list. Make sure that you do not miss any setup that we post here, and thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like, you subscribe to this channel, and happy trading for today.